Another Republican presidential candidate debate provides insight into where candidates stand on important issues facing the nation. This is the CitizenLink Report. I'm Carrie Gordon Earl, sitting in for Stuart Shepard. Joining me is Tom Minery, Executive Director of CitizenLink. Hi, Tom. Thanks for joining us today.
Well, you're welcome. Nice to be with you.
The GOP candidates continue to have debates, another televised debate where they're talking about these issues. This most recent one was CNN and the Tea Party, which to some may sound like kind of odd partners to be doing a debate. What did you think about the questions and just the tone of where this debate went?
Well, you're right. Those are odd partners. You don't normally think of CNN and the Tea Party together. And the questions were hard. The questions from some of the Tea Party participants were very direct, as were the questions from Wolf Blitzer of CNN. But the fact is, those hard, difficult questions highlighted a skill that I'm finding in these presidential primary candidates. These are articulate people. In fact, I cannot remember a presidential election when we had this many articulate people answering difficult questions. So the difficult questions highlighted their skill. They did it very well.
And one of the most heated moments in the debate had to do with Governor Rick Perry's executive order in 2007 around mandating teenage girls having the HPV vaccine, human papillomavirus. Now, Rick Perry has said that he did this to try and eradicate cancer, but that sure didn't stop Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann from coming after him with some tough questioning. Let's look at a clip.
I just wanted to add that we cannot forget that in the midst of this executive order, there was a big drug company that made millions of dollars because of this mandate. We can't deny that.
What are you suggesting?
What I'm saying is that it's wrong for a drug company because the governor's former chief of staff was the chief lobbyist for this drug company. The drug company gave thousands of dollars in political donations to the governor, and this is just flat out wrong. Right. The question is it about life or was it about millions of dollars and potentially billions for a drug company?
All right, I'll let Senator Santorum hold off for a second. You got to respond to that.
Yes, sir. The company was Merck. And it was a $5,000 contribution that I had received from them. I raised about $30 million. And if you're saying that I can be bought for $5,000, I'm offended.
I'm offended for all the little girls and the parents that didn't have a choice.
Governor Perry still has some explaining to voters to do on this issue, doesn't he?
Well, he does, and he's going to get hit with that question time and again as these debates ensue. The governor obviously made a mistake back in 2007 when he issued an executive order requiring all sixth-grade girls in Texas to be given this drug Gardasil, which guards against a sexually transmitted disease, HPV. Now, you can understand why that's difficult for a lot of parents to accept. The idea that my daughter is assumed to be a sexually active, I don't think so. Now, there was an opt-out provision, but a lot of people thought there ought to be an opt-in provision. In other words, offer this drug if parents want it to be given to their girls. Now, the legislature quickly slapped him pretty hard by reversing that executive order. The governor realizes he made a mistake, but he's going to have to continue to explain and offer apologies for that mistake, I think, in the weeks ahead.
And another topic that keeps coming up is reforming Social Security. Governor Rick Perry earlier in another debate had called Social Security a Ponzi scheme, and that continues to get some criticism from his fellow GOPers. Let's look at a clip.
The issue is, are there ways to move the states into Social Security for state employees or for retirees? We did in the state of Texas back in the 1980s. I think those types of thoughtful conversations with America, rather than trying to scare seniors like you're doing and other people, it's time to have a legitimate conversation in this country about how to fix that program where it's not bankrupt and our children actually know that there's going to be a retirement program there for them.
Yeah, Governor, the term Ponzi scheme is what scared seniors, number one. And number two, suggesting that Social Security should no longer be a federal program and return to the states and unconstitutional is likewise frightening. Look, there are a lot of very bright people who agree with you. And that's your view. I happen to have a different one. I think that Social Security is an essential program that we should change the way we're
Governor,
funding
you
it
called
to make
it
sure.
a criminal. You said if people did it in the private sector,
Did
it
what?
would be called criminal. That's in your book.
Yeah, what I said was. Governor Perry, you got to quote me correctly. You said it's criminal. What I said was Congress taking money out of the Social Security Trust Fund is like criminal, and that is, and it's wrong.
Tom, we've come a long way from the time that no one would even talk about Social Security reform. What do you see happening here?
Oh, you're right. Just a few years ago, nobody would even touch the subject of Social Security. Now we have the leading presidential contender for the Republicans, at least the momentary leader, saying it's a Ponzi scheme. In other words, it's illegal. That is tough. And Governor Romney called Governor Perry on that. But the fact is, in his own book, Governor Romney used the word criminal in association with Social Security. Obviously, what they're getting at is the fact that people pay into Social Security all their lives. People think the money is going to be there, but not necessarily will it be there unless Congress keeps infusing more money into it, because they keep taking the money out of that pot and putting in IOUs. That doesn't seem right. Now, whether you consider that harshly as a Ponzi scheme or something else, the fact is it is not working. The candidates are talking about it, and that seems to me to be a good thing.
Finally, Tom, one topic that did not come up is the president's jobs bill. A little bit surprising there. Why do you think that's not a topic of discussion?
Well, that's an important observation, Carrie. I think it did not come up because President Obama does not figure very much in what is going on. Now, just think back to last week. President Obama called the House and the Senate together to present a jobs bill that he said would restart the economy. But it is more of the same. The word stimulus wasn't used, but stimulus is what it is. Now, we've just had a near $1 trillion stimulus, and the president said if we pass that, unemployment would cap at 8%. Well, we passed it, and unemployment went all the way up to 10% and has drifted down now to still over 9%. So this is not working. There are tax credits in this jobs bill, but here's what that's like. Suppose a car company offered you a $2,000 rebate if you'll just buy a new car. Well, that's not going to get you to buy a new car unless you are going to buy a new car anyway. So a tax credit for an employer to hire someone who's been unemployed for 6 months, which is what this rhetoric is all about, he might exercise that tax credit if he's going to hire anyway. But if he's not going to hire anyway, he's not going to just do so to get that tax credit. And there was a devastating article in the New York Times in which they interviewed many CEOs who said the same thing. This is not going to help us hire. What's going to help us hire is an improvement in the economy, is a growth in business. And that's not going to take place until all of this uncertainty over health care is ended. All this uncertainty over the stock market gyrations is over. In fact, after the president gave his speech, the stock market dropped several hundred points. And so you've got to get the underlying fundamentals of the economy stronger, and you can't just pull little levers from Washington, D.C. and think you're going to fix things. Also, the way to pay for this next installment of the stimulus is something that Republicans are rejecting. It's increasing the taxes on wealthier individuals by cutting back the itemized deductions they're able to take, and we have a chart that shows that. Most of the $450 billion or so is going to be paid for by that big dark blue box. That represents nearly all of the way the president wants to pay for this by cutting out some itemized deductions. Now, itemized deductions are where a lot of people make charitable contributions from. And if they do not get tax deductions for that, I think a lot of nonprofits are going to be hurt. So that's a problem. And so in a sense, this is a non-starter. And that's why I think it did not come up at all last night.
A lot of important topics, from social issues to Social Security to jobs in the economy. We're going to be hearing more about this in the months to come. Thank you, Tom, for being with us, for joining us. You can always communicate with us here at CitizenLink at mail@citizenlink.com. That's mail@citizenlink.com. And remember, stand tall and be heard.